Prime's exclusive wildcard playoff game is Saturday night. Jordan Love and the Packers take on Caleb Williams and the Bears. Not a Prime member? Sign up for a 30-day free trial to stream the game.
That's going to be caught for the touchdown.
NFC North rivals square off in the latest chapter of the NFL's oldest feud. The Packers and Bears in Prime's exclusive wildcard playoff game. Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Only on Prime. Sign up for a 30-day free trial today. Restrictions apply. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details.
I had that dream again. My small business needs to hire, but I don't use LinkedIn, and I hire wrong. So our orders get all backed up. We're drowning in paperwork, then actually drowning. Carol is fighting off sharks with a stapler, and pirates are pillaging the office copier, and then I wake up.
Don't let hiring nightmares ruin your dreams. LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant goes beyond the resume, using unique insights to deliver a smarter shortlist. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/quality. Start hiring today with LinkedIn.
Hello there, Stanley Carr here. You know, I love collecting music and sports memorabilia. Want to know where you can find some? I'll tell you. Go to oldglory.com. This website features one-of-a-kind apparel from your favorite sports teams and musical artists. And I can help you get 15% off of all items. Use the code WWH135. Enjoy the episode.
Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity work, community service, volunteering, and spreading positivity. We're always about the positive vibes here on the show, and with me right now I've got a very special guest. He's a professional wrestler and fitness trainer. I'm pleased to welcome the one and only Richie Scruggs. Welcome, Richie, to Wrestling with Heart.
Glad to be here. Thanks for asking me.
My pleasure. So, talk to me about your childhood. Where did you grow up?
Well, I'm actually an Army brat, so I grew up pretty much everywhere. I lived in Berlin, Germany for several years, Fort Knox, Kentucky, Fort Benning, Georgia, Fort Jackson, South Carolina. So just grew up traveling, which was great. The military life was good to me and my family. Mom and dad both. Dad served 30 years, and mom and dad both are buried in Arlington National Cemetery. So we're a military family, and growing up was great. I had a great childhood.
Yeah, I'd imagine you get to see different parts of the country, different parts of the world, take a lot of different experiences in. Did you have like a particular favorite place that you enjoyed going to the most?
Probably Berlin, Germany. Yeah, enjoyed it there. Went to American schools, so didn't really learn how to speak German, but growing up on a military base in Germany, we traveled, went to Switzerland, places all over the world. We traveled to Korea, just with the military. But yeah, Germany was probably our favorite stop.
Yeah, I'd imagine, pick up a different culture, learn something new here, and get that experience. And so, I've heard so many good things about the food over in Europe. Just delicious cuisines.
Oh yeah. My favorite was the bratwurst, and well, I'm a vegetarian now, so it wouldn't be my favorite today. But growing up, it was. We had a lot of frankfurters and sauerkraut, and being an Army brat, like I said, we always ate good. The military was good to us.
Now, did you become a fan of wrestling at an early age, or was that something you kind of fell into later on?
Well, I was probably elementary school, starting my middle school years. We lived in Fort Benning, Georgia. My dad was a huge wrestling fan up till the day he died. I mean, he didn't, if Monday Night Raw or WCW, something was on, you didn't call the house. Nobody called the house. If you did, you didn't get to speak to Dad. He was glued to the TV. But he would take us to the Omni on Wednesday nights, and we watched Georgia Championship Wrestling every Wednesday. Went and watched it live, and I can remember growing up and, being in class, and I would always draw the wrestlers on my art pads or my even in my math class, my teachers would get on to me and say, you're not supposed to be doing that. And I used to tell people all the time, I said, yep, that's what I'm going to do when I grow up. I'm going to be a professional wrestler.
Right.
So I knew it from elementary school on up till, after my college years.
Yeah, I mean, this was like a good period of time, too, because you had like the Monday Night Wars with WCW, WWF.
Yeah.
Just going head to head with each other, and it was like the talk of the town. And so who were some of your favorite wrestlers growing up that you would say kind of influenced your work later on?
I guess, well, of course, my character is the American GI. So, I mean, I did that in honor of my dad. I didn't serve, but dad did. And of course, I always grew up with the flat top. So everybody just knew me as GI. Kids in school call me GI. And so it was just a perfect character. So I want to say, maybe Sergeant Slaughter. I was a big fan of Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat, Tony Atlas, Mr. Wrestling #2, of course, Rock and Roll Express, Midnight Express. Just all those guys, man. I don't know if I could really narrow down to one certain person that was my all-time favorite. I loved old school wrestling. All those guys.
Those are some really good ones too, and the '80s especially had like so many different alternatives and so many different choices to pick from in terms of promotions, and so getting the chance to watch those,
Yeah.
is a treat. Every Saturday morning or Monday night, just to watch like your favorite wrestlers and getting the chance to see them in person's another experience in itself because you go to the shows, you're live, you get to see them in person. You mentioned earlier going to the Omni. I mean, I'm sure that was a lot of fun.
Oh, it was, and it always sold out. Always sold out. Packed houses, and that was back during the Mr. Wrestling #2 and Dick Slater and Stan Hansen, and of course Steamboat was young at the time, and Flair, and just man, I'm telling you, just the old school style, and just loved it. And we always got as close to the ring as we could because we were little guys back then, and. But yeah, just, we knew we were going. We knew we were going every Wednesday night. It was live, and Dad always had tickets. And I mean, we were there just week after week. We were there.
So you knew at a young age you wanted to pursue the business. Let's talk about training because, coming from a military family, I'm sure you firsthand getting to see that kind of experience. And from, when I've talked to people on the show about training, it's a different grind. You have to really discipline yourself a lot. But
it is. I come from an amateur background. I wrestled in school, actually coached wrestling at school for 20 years at a local middle school here in town. And so I've always been involved in wrestling, myself, my kids. And so stepping into it was kind of natural. I had all the what they call chain wrestling, had all that technique down to a science. And living in Shelby at the time, and you probably remember the name Raging Bull, Manny Fernandez. Mm-hmm. He was actually my neighbor. So me and Manny became friends back in the mid 80s, late 80s. And we started training together at a local gym here in town called Iron Bar Gym, and we're lifting together. And he knew I had an amateur background, and he would always say, Richie, I need you to, you need to start doing this. I'd be glad to train you. You've got the ability to do it. Maybe, and enjoy it, something other than the amateur side. And Manny would come in town. He'd be on the road. Him and Rick Rude were actually tag team champions at the time. And he would call from the airport and say, hey, is there any way you can pick us up? And I'd jump in the car and go pick those guys up. And I'd hear all the wrestling stories coming home. And we were in Concord, North Carolina one night. Manny was on a little independent card. And of course, Manny had always told me to be ready. Didn't have any wrestling gear, none whatsoever. So the funny thing about it is Manny was tagging with, I don't even remember the guys' names, actually. It was just a little independent scene. And one of the guys didn't show up. So Manny said, we'll just turn this into a street fight. And Richie, you just wear the clothes you got on. And I was like, what? He said, yeah, just get in there. And, we'll just do some chain wrestling. Me and you we'll do some reversals, yada, yada, yada. Man, and I'd never been trained. As soon as I stepped in the ring and we locked up and did a little bit of our amateur style stuff, I fell in love with it. And man, it was probably 2 weeks later, I started traveling to Granite Falls, North Carolina, 3 nights a week and started training under Manny. And I fell in love. That was back in 88, 1989. But yeah, Raging Bull Manny Fernandez actually trained me.
So what are some things that Manny taught you early on as far as like tips and tricks that kind of carried over with you today that you can still recall?
I think Manny told me just to always wrestle big. I mean, I was a big guy. I'm 6'4". At that time, I was 6'4", 325 pounds. And he said, just wrestle big, take your time, be patient, make it look as real as possible. I mean, and Manny was stiff. He's what we call, he was a stiff worker. I mean, when he went to lay one in on you, he laid it in on you. And he always said, listen, don't be afraid to lay it in on somebody because they're going to lay it in on you. If if they want it to look real. So I've never been one that wants to go out there and be what they call, well, Manny always said it, looking lazy. I never wanted to look lazy. I always wrestled big. I always wanted to make sure, even if the guy was bigger than me, I either wanted to be as big as him or bigger than him. But I just, just old school wrestling. I used to cut up and carry on with the guys and said, if you ever see me get on that top rope to do something, I've done bumped my head, so you need to move. Because, mine was just all in-ring stuff, just a lot of reversals, chain wrestling, but just wrestling big. Like I said, I was a big guy, and Manny was always a big guy, and I just, that's what he taught us.
Yeah, I think it's also important to have psychology as well, because
Exactly.
you want to know why you're doing the moves instead of just doing it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, and I wrestled with Manny for a couple of years. There was a federation here in the Carolinas called South Atlantic when I broke into the business, and I was with them from '90 to '92, and they folded. South Atlantic did, and didn't know what I was going to do next, and just happened to by chance meeting with the Italian Stallion and George South, and started wrestling with the PWF for the next 5-6 years, and started training under George and Stal. And one of the important things George always told me, he said, if you'll just sit down and listen and pay attention, you'll learn something. And, even when I wasn't in the ring wrestling, I was watching the other guys wrestle and would just pick up on stuff. I'd see them do something that maybe I thought I could change and make a little better. But yeah, my biggest thing is when I got in the locker room, being a young guy, my first match was in 1990. I was 20 years old, 22 years old, actually. And I would just sit there and listen, just breathe it all in. Back in South Atlantic days, Wahoo McDaniels was a good friend of mine, and I'd sit in the locker room and just hear him tell stories and how he was the same way. He was like, just go out there and take your time, be patient, just wrestle big and do your thing. A lot of times if you were in the ring and you messed up, maybe I would know that I messed up on something, or my opponent messed up on something, but the fans didn't necessarily know that. And Manny and Wahoo and George and Stal would always say, so cover it up. They didn't know you messed up, just fix it. And just stuff like that.
Yeah, it's always good to have people that have, legends that have been around for so long, work with the young guys and kind of take them under their wing. And I feel like that's how, the young talent's able to grow and prosper in the business, because
Exactly.
it's really a cycle. And I feel like that the more tips that the legends can give to the young guys, they can succeed. And so with you, learning from Wahoo, learning from George South, learning from all these different Manny Fernandez, getting a chance to learn from these guys, I'm sure, you took a lot from that time. And
I did. And I mean, some of these guys are still in the business today. So like if I'm on a show now, matter of fact, if I'm on a show with George and George is in the locker room talking, I sit there and listen. I keep my mouth closed and my ears open, and you can learn so much just from listening to the guys and hearing their stories. And Ivan Koloff, that was my very first match. My very first match was July 4th, 1990, American GI versus the Russian Bear. And me and Ivan hit it off that first day. And for the next couple of years, we took that same match just all over the Carolinas and Georgia. But I would always sit in the locker room and just listen. And he wasn't really hard on me. He wasn't really, degrading some of this, but he would critique. I guess that's the word I want to look for. I never had a problem with those guys critiquing my matches. I wouldn't come right back in and say, hey, did you watch it? What do I need to do? But man, I'd sit down right beside them. I was like a sponge. I'd soak it all up, just the stuff they were doing. And then I would watch them. And then I'd want to kind of do the same stuff they were doing, because they were big guys. They were wrestling big. I never was a high flyer, even after, I've lost a lot of weight back in I worked with the U.S. Olympic team for 2 years in Atlanta and a lot of different training. So I went from 325 pounds to down to 195 pounds, and I still wasn't a high flyer. I always wanted to in-ring wrestle like those bigger and older guys did.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure like when you're wrestling Ivan Koloff, the crowd went crazy.
Oh, yeah, man, I'm telling you, you know what? It was just, I was a nervous wreck. I remember the story is back in South Atlantic, there was already a character called the American GI. I think he'd just been in the business a few weeks, maybe a couple months. I'm sitting at home one night. Manny calls me and says the promoter from South Atlantic's got a match for you. And I was like, awesome. What am I doing, or who am I working? He's like, well, they got you working Ivan Koloff, and you're wrestling as the American GI, which was perfect. And I still don't know whatever happened to the original guy that came in with that character. He got out of the business for whatever reason. But yeah, 4th of July. So I go back in the locker room, and all the way up there, I rode with Manny. So all the way up there, I'm nervous wreck. First match ever. And Manny says, just listen to him. He's probably just going to beat the brakes off of you. He's probably going to stomp you a little bit and leave Russia tattooed on the side of your head. He had me scared to death. So I get back there in the locker room, and I meet Ivan for the very first time. And I'm telling you, man, what an unbelievable, what a great talent. What a knowledge for the business. And we're back there talking, and Ivan says, hey, GI, this is the 4th of July. You go out there and just beat the brakes off of me. And my first match against him, I got the 1, 2, 3. And man, what a great way to start. Not many people can say that. You know, wrestling, one of the biggest at that time in 1990, he was still a huge name and was still a huge man, and just learned so much from him just that first day. Just love, and I fell in love with the business. I still love it. I still love it as much today as I did when I started.
Do you keep up with the current product at all?
I do. I don't watch a whole lot of it. I get, other through social media. Used to, but the last several years, I don't, I couldn't tell you what's going on any of the feds right now. I'm a grandpa now, so we've adopted 2 little ones. So my oldest adopted child is 16 and my youngest is 14. So they keep me kind of busy now with school stuff at night. So I don't get to watch it like I want to, but I'm still as busy in it as I ever was. For years, it was when we were with the PWF for 7 years there, we never, Stal and George were taking guys to Monday Night Raw, taking guys to WCW Nitro. So guys were working 5, 6, 7 days a week because, they were enhancement talent 2 and 3 nights a week. And then we were doing every Friday and Saturday night somewhere all over the country with the PWF. So it was actually a full-time, part-time gig for me, but we never had any time off. We were booked. We knew in advance. We were booked where we were at, and we were a family too, man. I mean, that's another thing I like about it. Just some of the guys I met back in the early 90s, I'm still good friends with today. Some have passed on, but, even the ones that's passed on, I've stayed in touch with their family, and we just, it's just a big, big family.
Yeah, I mean, you develop those friendships and relationships early on.
You do.
So those last a lifetime. I mean, the fact that, you're on the road for 300 days a year and you're still, still seeing these guys, I mean, that's got to mean so much, to be able to keep in touch with them all these years later.
Oh, it is. And you just, like I said, you just make such good friendships. It's nothing for me to get on my phone and, call one of the legends in the business, just to chat, talk to them, or even, get them to come do one of our shows, whether it is to wrestle on one of the cards or come and just help promote it and do a meet and greet for us. And, it's not like you're talking to a stranger. I might not see them every day, but man, they're friends. I mean, they really are. We've built those friendships, pretty tight friendships too.
Who would you say over the course of your career have been some of your favorite opponents?
Of course, Ivan. Of course, Stal and George worked George a lot, but, when PWF was coming around, that was back when the Godwins were there. So Henry Godwin, man, I loved working Big Mark. Men on a Mission, both those guys have passed now, Mo and Mabel. They were probably 2 of my favorite guys to ever work. Big guys, we both wrestled big, all of us did. But, I'm probably going to say Ivan, and probably the one that I still have contact with today and talk to on a regular basis, the Barbarian. Started working.
Why do growing businesses love working in Slack? Let's ask Christy at RE Bikes.
Running things in Slack saves me so much time.
AI summaries save 97 minutes per week. What say you, Rox from Gosney?
Slack helps us build community, it helps us build connection.
Your partners, vendors and customers all in one place. Take us on home, Ashley from Caraway.
If we didn't have Slack tomorrow, I would explode.
Well, let's not let that happen. Visit slack.com/podcast to get 50% off Slack Business Plus.
Him years ago at some independent shows, and I could call him today, and if he's available for an event this weekend, he'll come. He's GI, whatever. He calls me coach because I coached for all those years. And but yeah, just so some of the bigger names, like I said, Ivan, of course, and he's passed on. But man, any of the guys that come through the PWF, the Godwins, Charles Robinson was a referee there for several years. R-Truth, Matt and Jeff Hardy come through there, but yeah, I would say probably Henry Godwin, Mark and those guys, and still friends today, and I just made a lot of good talent coming through.
Well, let's talk about being a promoter, because it's another side of the business. You're a
Oh,
talent,
yeah.
you're a wrestler, but being a promoter is a whole nother animal in itself, because you got to take care of so many bookings and dates and schedule stuff around. Walk me through that process.
Yeah, well, I'm a born again Christian. I tell people all the time I'm a Christian who just happens to wrestle. And I started traveling to the Philippines back in 2008 through a ministry out of Asheville, North Carolina. And of course, the ministry there knew that I was a professional wrestler, and they said, "GI, we can use this. Those kids and those young people in the Philippines, they don't have anything, but they love wrestling. Anytime they can meet somebody like that, they love it." So as I started traveling there, getting to meet a lot of those folks, and using wrestling as part of my ministry, we come up with the idea of maybe, bringing wrestling to the Philippines. So we had a local pastor there that came to the United States several years back and came to one of our events and said, "Hey, listen, if I build a ring in the Philippines, will you come and wrestle there?" So that's where Wrestling for Christ Ministry started at. And I founded that back years ago. And like I said, started traveling in 2008. But that's promoting's a whole different monster. Wrestling's one thing. You pack your bag and you go and you show up and you wrestle Friday night or Saturday night. But I book all the venues. I book all the talent. I book all the guest speakers. I handle, payroll for the talent. I haul the ring. I haul the tray. I haul the trailers. So it's a lot more than wrestling now. I've actually stepped away from a lot of the in-ring matches just because the younger talent. I mean, I'm 58 years old. The younger talent, there's so much out there. It's so much easier for me to book somebody on a card and have 5 or 6 matches set up and sit back and watch the show, because I get there early. I set the ring up. Me and the crew does. I need to quit saying because it's not me. I've got a great group of guys, but we show up, set the ring up, set the guardrail, everything, and then get to sit back now and watch some of the younger guys come up. And those are the same guys that are coming in and asking me questions like I did when I was young. There's like, "What'd you think about my match?" And and I love doing that too. I love teaching as much as I do learning. But yeah, promoting's a whole different thing, because not everybody. Sometimes it's hard to find a venue nowadays, because there's just so much going on in the world today. A lot of people look at wrestling, especially through a Christian ministry, and when you mention wrestling, there's like, "No, we're not going to have wrestling here. That's too violent. That's too, we're not going to do that." So, but we have found it easier as people get to know us. But yeah, the promoting's a whole different story. That's I have my calendar out. I'm on the phone multiple times a week, calling different venues, calling different areas. We go to the fair conferences every year just to try to get booked at the fairs. And so yeah, the in-ring wrestling is just a small part of it now for me.
What would you say is the most rewarding part about promoting shows?
Seeing it all come together, and then getting on social media and just hearing the fans chat and talk, and some of them show little clips. And when you hear a fan say, "Man, we went to a WFC card the other night. If you've never been, you're missing out." And our fan base has grown. But yeah, the best part is you would think it's like once the doors close and you leave. Man, I'm so glad this is over with. But that's not it for me. I like hearing from the fans. I like hearing from the venue, the people that own the buildings, saying, "Hey, man, that was great tonight. We'd love to have y'all back." So just seeing everything come together, the reward of putting on a good event, and hearing people talk about it.
And you've had some big names come through the area as well for your shows.
Oh, we do. We, Jamie Noble's one of the bigger names. Now, he doesn't wrestle for us, but we're good friends with Jamie Noble. He's still with WWE, one of the head producers, and we talk to him a lot. He gives us a lot of contacts and tells us people that we can call. And, we get a lot of contacts through him. We get a lot of contacts through George South. They just know a lot of guys. But yeah, we try to book. We try to book the legends, though. We try to book the legends, the up and coming and the stars of today are hard to get, as far as being on the independent scene. The money's not there to bring. And I mean, they're worth the money that they're getting. I mean, the talent out there is just unbelievable. But yeah, we've had a lot of big names come through. I mean, guys that I've wrestled, I mean, I've been on the same shows with Ted DiBiase and of course Rock and Roll Express. One of my biggest matches I've ever had, Jimmy Snuka's passed on now, but was Jimmy Snuka. And so a lot of those guys that were on the cards with PWF, I still have contacts with those guys. And so yeah, it's and they still put butts in the seats. I mean, a lot of those legends, it's great to see like Barbarian come set up at a gimmick table. And then people bring the old magazines with him in it and him autographing pictures from days gone by. And just, they still draw a crowd, man. They really do.
Yeah, I mean, you get that energy there. And I think that's so important. The crowd, I feel like, makes the show. And so
they
have
do.
a lot of people involved and engaged. You got a good show.
Yeah. And we've got a pretty good following. If we're within a couple of hours of our home base is in Kings Mountain. They'll travel. They'll come see us, 2 towns away, 3 towns away. That fan base is really starting to fill the seats. Our Saturday night shows, Friday night shows, we're starting to get to where we're running out of chairs. But if you put on a good product, and leave the fans wanting more, they'll be back. They'll be back. And we've got some good talent. And like I said, we always bring in some of the legends, guys that people have known for years. We book Ricky Morton, we book Heath Slater, we book Barbarian. Just some of those guys that'll come in and do some of our events, and they still draw a crowd. And it's just to me it's still a lot of fun. I still enjoy it.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Having fun. And now I want to talk about some of the stuff you've done outside of wrestling as far as giving back. I know you talked about going to the Philippines and going to different countries. What are some things that you have done in your community over the years to give back and help out?
It's funny that you asked me that. Last month's show, we did a coat drive for the homeless ministry here in Gaffney, South Carolina. We do that through my church, but WFC put on a big card, and if you bring in a coat, gently used coat, scarves, gloves, toboggans, you get in for free. And man, we filled up a trailer. So we're all feeding through our homeless ministry, and then we're going to distribute all those winter coats and stuff. We do the toy drives. Every year you bring in a $5, $10 toy, you get in free, unwrapped toy, and we pass those out to the local boys and girls homes here in Cleveland County. And of course the Philippines, that's where our ministry is. We travel over there every year. We stay about a month at a time. Now, and then it's not just about the wrestling. In that month's time, we may just do 6 events, but the rest of the time we're holding vacation Bible schools, we're holding basketball camps, we're holding all sports youth camps, helping build churches, supplying the needs of the churches, buying Bibles, music equipment, painting churches. So yeah, it's bigger than wrestling.
Definitely.
Wrestling, like I said, wrestling is just a small part of it now. The ministry's just, God's opened a lot of doors and blessed the ministry, and we've got a lot of ability to do stuff to give back to the community, and we do. I mean, it's real. Till you get out there and see it, you don't believe it, but you'll have people coming to that ministry tomorrow that, I mean, it's going to be 30-something degrees tomorrow, and they'll have on a T-shirt. I mean, they're in such need of a winter coat, gloves, scarves, toboggans, and yeah, that's what it's all about for us, man. So we're really looking forward to that.
What would you say has been an event that has been the most rewarding and heartwarming for you as far as giving back?
Probably my church show. And I say that because, my church is my biggest supporter. They support the ministry. If there's anything we need for the ministry, for the Philippines or anything like that, they support that. But we do once or twice a year, we've got an open air amphitheater at my church, and we set the ring up, and we just invite all the community. We invite all the kids from all the communities. It's a free show. We have hamburger, hot dog trucks out there. We have what we call the Kona Ice slushy truck. All of it's free. We give back to our community. But that's probably one of my favorite shows every year, is just giving back to my church for what they've done for us throughout the year. And, the whole church shows up, and that's not counting all the neighbors and all the kids from around the community, but it's a big event. And like I said, we take care of all of it. Them kids come and eat hamburgers, hot dogs, slushies, get to see the wrestling. But yeah, that's probably my favorite event every year is my home church show.
Sounds like a family fun outing and exciting. You get like a lot of people turn out to this event. And
It's huge. Yeah. My local middle school that I coached at, we ran it for almost 22 years. We always called it the Clash Before Christmas. It was always the last Saturday before Christmas. And then I coached wrestling there at the middle school for all those years. And that was another one of our big events. And, all that money would go to the athletic programs. The guys would donate their time for that. And so for 22 years running, we've always done that. Like I said, the last Saturday before the kids go home for Christmas break. And we start advertising that 3 months out. I mean, the kids are talking about it around school, and we always get the coaches and the teachers involved. We get the principals involved, whether it's refereeing or me and one of my guys when I wrestle in my heel persona. Sometimes I'm the bad guy. We get the local coaches from the school in a match, and we wrestle them in a match, and the kids just love seeing that. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, it really is. We're family friendly. We tell people all the time, bring your grandbabies, bring your grandmas. It's going to be something for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, definitely sounds like something to check out every year, and seems like it's really amazing to see what you guys are able to do.
Yeah.
Why do you feel passionate about giving back to your community?
Just because it's given so much to me. Growing up in the military, living on a military base, we were always active in the community. My dad, like I said, being a lifetime military man, we were always involved in community events. Didn't have to be church events. It's just like our motorcycle ministry at church. We've got a motorcycle ministry at church, not a motorcycle club, but a motorcycle ministry called the Armored Saints. They are always going out in the community, doing toy drives, doing clothes drives. Matter of fact, they were the ones that were headlining our show last month for the coat drive. All the motorcycles show up, and we always have a guest speaker to share. It doesn't have to be a preacher, just somebody's got a good testimony or a good word to share with the crowd. And but yeah, I don't know. Lord's blessed me with so much. I don't want for anything, but I do know there's a need out there, whether it be clothes, whether it be toys, whether it be food, whether it be shoes, money. We do a lot of fundraisers, throughout the year for local families. We've had a family here a while back who's lost everything in a fire. So it was nothing to step up and say, hey guys, if you can donate, just a little bit of your time on this day, we're going to let everything that comes through the door, and we get our venue to donate the rent. Everything that comes through the door, we want to give to this local family. And it may not be much, but to them, it's a lot. So I've just, people have always been there for me and my family. My guys, they're the same way. We just want to give back.
Every little bit helps, and
it does.
It goes a long way.
It does. And that's why I'm so passionate about the Philippines. It's one of the poorest countries in the world. We see the poorest of the poor. When me and my guys were there, I had one of the local pastors, and the Vacation Bible School year before last had 350 children there. And there were no plans to feed those children, and I didn't know that. So the day before the event, I'd asked the local pastor, I said, what would it cost to feed all 350 of these children? I mean, we're talking about 350 kids who, if they're lucky, they get one meal a day. I mean, kids that don't even have shoes on their feet. And the local pastor, just being who they are, and knowing it's one of the poorest countries in the world, says, "Well, Brother Richie, I don't think we can afford that." And I said, "Well, Pastor, me and the guys are going to take care of that. Well, it's going to be awful expensive." And I said, "Well, just what's it going to take?" And to them, this was a lot. And I guess it is a lot of money, but he said it's going to take $150 to feed all 300. Me and my family go out and eat, and it costs us $150. At local restaurants here in town. But we're talking about we fed 350 children for $150 US.
Amazing.
And we went, and the local pastors' wives made all the spaghetti. And we went and bought the styrofoam plates and bought little juice boxes for the kids to eat. And I tell people, those kids, they were looking at the spaghetti, and I'd asked the pastor, I said, is everything okay? And he's like, well, a lot of these kids don't know what that is. They've never had spaghetti before. I mean, they're lucky to get fish and bread, like I said, if they're lucky. So when they got through eating all that spaghetti that day, I could have stacked those styrofoam plates back up and took them back to the store. That's how clean they were. They licked those plates clean. It was amazing. It was just watching them. I got videos of the kids eating, and just, I mean, I'm telling you, those plates were as clean as they were when I put the spaghetti on it.
That is such a very heartwarming moment to be able
Oh, I'm
to.
telling you. And, I've got so many of those from the Philippines, just so many to buy a pastor. I was working with a local pastor there for a few years, and 2 or 3 years ago, I noticed he had tape on the bottom of his shoes, and I asked the pastor. I said, "Can I take you to the mall and buy you a new pair of shoes?" And of course, he's like, "No, you don't have to do that." And I said, "No, but I want to. I want to." So I took the local pastor to eat. Me and the guys did, and I bought him just a regular pair. I told him, I said, "Listen, preacher, get any pair of shoes you want. I want you to get any." He bought him a pair of dress shoes, and so a lot of times I get choked when I'm telling people this story, but so 2 or 3 days later, a lot of areas over there I don't have Wi-Fi, but I finally got in touch with my wife, and she said, "Have you been on your Facebook today?" And I said, "No, why?" And she said, "You need to get on there and look at Pastor Nelvin's Facebook post." And I said, "Okay." So I got on there, and his Facebook post said, "This has been the greatest day in my life. I got my first real new pair of shoes." And we're talking about a man that was in his 30s. Man that was in his 30s, and he posted that on Facebook. "Greatest day of my life. I got my first real new pair of shoes." Man, I mean, you know what? My kids get their shoes dirty and they think they need another pair. These preachers and kids are wearing them till you have to tape the bottoms up or put cardboard in the bottom just to have shoes on their feet. And some of them don't have anything on their feet. But stuff like that, it's worth it. If just one person does that, I know it's worth it to me, and it's worth it to the guys.
One person can make all the difference. They really can.
And that's what we look at. A little as much if God is in it, and that's what we tell people.
Mm-hmm.
We're raising our support now. We're going back to the Philippines in June, and when we start raising our support, people's like, "Yeah, but I can't give much. It doesn't take much as far as the Philippines go. It does not take much." So our support, we raise our own support. There's a group of 5 or 6 of us that go every year, and it's an expensive trip. I'm not afraid to tell anybody that, but God's really provided. Like I said, my church has always been there. If we're short on funds, they take care of it. But man, once we get there, once we hit the ground running. And the wrestling's the fun part. Our smallest crowd last year was about 8,000 people. And when you go and wrestle and you got 8, 10, 15,000, we've wrestled in front of 20,000 people before over there that have nothing. And you go over there and set that wrestling ring up. You don't charge a dime for it. We cover everything. Like I said, we cover the meals. We cover everything. But just to see those kids come out of the woodwork, climbing up in trees, just to see wrestling, and then we get to share the gospel with them too. That's I tell people all the time, the wrestling is the cake, but sharing the gospel is the icing on the cake. And it works. If done right, wrestling is not. People can use anything bad and make it good if you do it right. And, like I said this earlier, people's like, "Yeah, we're not going to have wrestling here at this church, or we're not going to have wrestling at the school, or it's too violent." We've seen the way people act, the way they talk, and the way they act in the ring. And we're professional wrestlers, but we're not only professional outside the ring, we're professional inside the ring too. As far as the language goes, as far as the action of the guys, it's very family friendly, and we found that if done right, it'll work. And like I said, we're raising our support now to go back in June. We're wrestling at several local high schools there. And those high schools there, are 8, 10, 12,000. There's one high school there that has 21,000 students at a local high school in the Philippines.
Wow.
So just being able to do that, being able to give back, and just see the smiles on their faces. Kids that don't have anything, that are sad most of the time, just to see them smile, if it's not just for that one day, man, that's what makes it worth it to us.
And you're doing an incredible job keeping everything going. Richie, I want to say thank you so much for coming on to the show. It means a lot to me, to my listeners and viewers that are watching this on YouTube. Where can people find out more about you on social media and about your organization?
My Facebook page is Richie G.I. Scruggs, and then our wrestling page is Wrestling for Christ. We're both on social media. We have our Wrestling for Christ has a YouTube channel. We're on YouTube, got a good many number of followers there, but I always post our upcoming events. Go to WFC on Wrestling for Christ page and Richie G.I. Scruggs. You can keep up with all of us.
All right. Thanks again, Richie, and you're more than welcome to come back.
God bless you, buddy. I'll be praying for you, man. I hope continue doing what you're doing.
Will do. Thanks again.
You make us look good.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.